Two travelers walk toward airport security. They arrive within seconds of each other. Both are dressed casually. One walks through the body scanner. The other hears 4 words. "Sir, step over here." Officers begin opening every compartment. Swabs are taken. Questions are asked. Other passengers glance over. The traveler has done nothing wrong. No prohibited items, no criminal record. So why was one allowed through? Most people believe airport security works randomly. But what if that isn't the full story? What if the decision began long before? For most travelers, for airport security, days before a passenger, imagine standing inside. Thousands of flights, hundreds of thousands, millions of bags. Without technology, every traveler becomes. Most passengers never think. From your perspective, behind the scenes, airport security doesn't truly begin. It begins with information. But information alone, because eventually, every passenger reaches the same place. The security checkpoint. And that's where another invisible system quietly takes over. Walk through any busy airport and watch the security officers for just a few minutes. At first glance, they appear focused on documents, conveyor belts, and body scanners. Look a little longer. You'll notice something else. Their eyes rarely stop moving. While passengers concentrate on removing laptops, taking off belts, and finding boarding passes, officers are constantly observing people, thousands of them, every shift, every day. Not because they expect everyone to be dangerous, because unusual behavior often appears before unusual objects. This isn't about judging someone's appearance. It's about recognizing patterns. Imagine seeing thousands of passengers every single day for years. Eventually, ordinary behavior becomes incredibly familiar. Someone searching for a passport, parents calming tired children, business travelers checking emails, vacationers laughing with friends. These scenes repeat endlessly. Then suddenly, something feels different. Perhaps someone keeps walking away from their luggage. Perhaps another passenger repeatedly changes direction for no obvious reason. Maybe someone becomes unusually focused on watching officers instead of preparing for screening. One unusual action means very little. Several unusual actions together may encourage closer attention. Most travelers mistake nervousness for suspicion. In reality, airport staff expect people to be nervous. Flying is stressful. Deadlines create pressure. Long lines create frustration. Even experienced travelers forget simple things when they're rushing. Security officers know this. They're not looking for ordinary stress. They're looking for behavior that doesn't fit the situation. And that's a much more difficult skill than most people realize. It also explains why 2 passengers standing side by side can receive completely different levels of attention. But even the most experienced officer isn't working alone. Because while human eyes watch passengers, another set of eyes is quietly watching everything else. The machines. Their decisions can change everything in an instant. The average traveler notices only one machine, the body scanner. Step inside. Raise your arms. Wait 2 seconds. Walk away. Simple. But that's only the machine you can see. Hidden behind the checkpoint is an entire network of technology working together every second. Conveyor belt scanners peer inside bags without opening them. Document readers verify identification in moments. Explosive trace detectors can identify microscopic particles that are invisible to the human eye. Advanced software helps flag images that deserve a closer look. To the traveler, it feels like a quick routine. To the technology, every bag is a puzzle. Imagine looking at a suitcase through an X-ray screen. Clothes appear as soft shapes. Books become dense blocks. Chargers twist into tangled cables. Electronics overlap. Metal objects cast dark shadows. Now imagine trying to identify thousands of these images every hour without missing the one item that doesn't belong. It is a task no human could perform alone. This is why machines have become the first line of detection. They never get distracted by a ringing phone. They never rush because the line is getting longer. They never overlook an object simply because they are tired. But they also have one major limitation. Machines do not understand intent. A dense object is simply a dense object. A strange shape is simply a strange shape. The scanner cannot tell whether that unusual image belongs to a harmless souvenir or something that deserves immediate attention. That decision still belongs to a person. And sometimes, a completely innocent item can look surprisingly suspicious on a screen. One tightly packed lunch can resemble something entirely different. A camera battery may blend into surrounding electronics. A bundle of charging cables can hide important details beneath them. The machine does not accuse anyone. It simply asks a question. Take another look. And whenever the answer is uncertain, officers follow the same principle. If there is doubt, inspect it. That is why some bags are opened even when nothing dangerous is eventually found. But what kinds of ordinary items create that uncertainty in the first place? The answer might already be sitting inside your own carry-on bag. An elderly woman carefully wraps homemade fruitcake before leaving for the airport. She has baked it for her grandson's birthday. Inside her suitcase, it looks like nothing more than a thoughtful gift. Inside the scanner, it appears as a large, unusually dense block. The conveyor belt stops. Her bag is pulled aside. She watches quietly as officers begin opening the suitcase. Within minutes, they smile, repack everything neatly, and wish her a pleasant flight. Nothing was wrong. But the image required a closer look. Scenes like this happen every day, not because travelers are breaking rules, because everyday objects can create confusing images. A large jar of peanut butter, several power banks stacked together, a tightly rolled blanket, heavy books packed against electronics, multiple camera lenses, a bag filled with tangled cables. Each item is perfectly ordinary, yet together they can produce an image that deserves another inspection. Sometimes the issue isn't what travelers pack, it's how they pack. Think about someone trying to save space before a vacation. Shoes stuffed with chargers, toiletries squeezed into every empty corner, electronics buried beneath layers of clothing. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, but everything overlapping. The scanner sees layers instead of clarity. When officers cannot clearly identify an object, they don't guess. They open the bag. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings about airport security. Most bag searches are not the result of suspicion. They are the result of uncertainty. And uncertainty is something security simply cannot ignore. Then there are the rushed travelers, the businessman who forgets his phone in a jacket pocket, the student who leaves a smartwatch inside a backpack, the family juggling strollers, passports, snacks, and excited children. These small oversights trigger alarms that require additional checks. The traveler often feels singled out. From the officer's perspective, they are simply completing a procedure. Yet something curious happens every single day. Some passengers make none of these mistakes. Their bags are perfectly organized. Their documents are ready. They know exactly what to expect. And somehow, they are still selected for additional screening. Why? Because there is one final layer that almost nobody expects. A layer designed to make airport security impossible to predict. And that is exactly what makes it so effective. Imagine you're responsible for protecting one of the busiest airports in the world. If every traveler knew exactly how screening worked, exactly who would be searched, and exactly which lane would receive extra checks, how long would it take for someone with bad intentions to exploit those patterns? Probably not very long. That is why true randomness still exists. It is not a flaw in the system. It is one of its strongest defenses. Every day, thousands of passengers who have done absolutely nothing unusual are selected for additional screening. Some are asked to step aside for a quick swab. Others have their bags inspected. Occasionally, a traveler who flies every week is stopped while a first-time flyer walks straight through. From the outside, it looks unfair. From a security perspective, it keeps the system unpredictable. Think of it like a surprise inspection. If inspections happened only under fixed conditions, those conditions would quickly become common knowledge. Random checks prevent anyone from confidently predicting what will happen next. This is why even trusted travelers sometimes hear those familiar words. Please step over here. Not because they made a mistake, not because they look suspicious, simply because unpredictability protects everyone else. Ironically, the people who travel most often usually understand this better than anyone. They don't argue. They don't panic. They simply cooperate, knowing that today's delay has little to do with yesterday's perfect trip. But something else begins to stand out when you watch frequent travelers. They seem to move through airports with remarkable ease, not because they avoid random screening, but because they rarely create unnecessary attention in the first place. So what are they doing differently? Their secret has very little to do with luck. It has everything to do with habits. Stand near an airport security checkpoint for an hour. Before long, you'll begin noticing a pattern. Some travelers appear to glide through the process almost effortlessly. They aren't rushing. They aren't trying to impress anyone. They simply move with quiet confidence. Long before they reach the conveyor belt, They have already made dozens of small decisions that nobody else notices. Their passport is easy to reach. Their boarding pass is ready before anyone asks. Their laptop comes out in one smooth motion. Their pockets are already empty. Nothing is searched for at the last second. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing surprises them. To everyone around them, it looks like luck. It isn't. It is preparation. Now compare that with another traveler only a few feet away. He reaches the front of the line and suddenly realizes his passport is buried inside his backpack. His phone starts ringing. He begins emptying every pocket. Coins roll onto the floor. His belt is still on. A water bottle remains inside his bag. The people behind him begin to slow down. The officer politely asks him to step aside while he reorganizes. Again, he has done nothing wrong. But every small delay creates another moment where something unexpected can happen. Airport security is designed to move people efficiently. The smoother a traveler moves through the process, the fewer interruptions occur. That doesn't mean organized travelers never receive additional screening. They do. Random selection still exists. So why does airport security stop some people and ignore others? Sometimes it's the scanner. Sometimes it's the officer. Sometimes it's random. And sometimes it's simply because something needs a second look. Being stopped doesn't always mean you did something wrong. It may simply mean the system noticed something the rest of us didn't. So the next time you hear, "Sir, step over here," remember, you may not be the problem. You may simply be the next person being checked.